The folks at Jinko Fishing not only bring you the Low Budget Live podcast, they bring you the Low Lifer sweet deals over at jinkofishing.com. All you got to do is use code LBL25 and you'll get 25% off of everything on the site just for being a low lifer. Listening to this weed eater voice saves you money on things like the tin cannon. Maybe you want a Offspring buzzbait. Maybe you need some CD25s, old big deep diving crankbaits, because we're trying to make cranking great again at Jinko Fishing. And it's all about the action and the new Dawn minnow that's coming. Trust me, you're going to want to see that too. JinkoFishing.com is where it's at. LBL 25. Express Boats, let's hang the banner. The all-welded aluminum bass smashing machine, the Express X21 Pro. That's what I'm running right now. Got the 250 Yamaha show on the back. Fastest hole shot in the game. More tackle storage than you can shake a stick at. Trust me when I say if you go take a ride in one, you'll be like, why didn't I do this sooner? They've also got bay boats. They've got a little bit of something for everybody and every budget. Check them out at expressboats.com because the folks at Express, they've been building excitement since 1966. Damn these.
It happens every night.
Every old night.
And I ain't never met a riverboat dealer that could ever be a friend of mine.
I have not.
Summer heat never treats me kind. It leaves
Trouble on my mind.
So I'm bidding farewell, putting in my notice, and I'll see you at another time.
Sing.
This highway
Does not know my name.
and I don't care.
Nope. No, I don't. I don't care.
Headed my way
For another place, and I got
3 good tires and a spare.
just a
White line gypsy getting out of Mississippi with just enough gas to get there.
low budget live, the not so live variety from the Low Budget Live Bar and Grill here in beautiful southern middle Tennessee. And I hope all you low lifers are doing well out there. And this is the podcast for Monday, August the 4th. And we have clicked into another month. The year is flying by. I feel like I talk about that every single week, and it is for good reason. Things are happening very fast in life right now for everybody, I feel like. But I really feel like that these days. Because as you're listening to this on this fine Monday, I have not one, but 2 Duncan boys at high school. This was their first day back to school. One is a freshman and one is a senior. So as if I wasn't feeling old enough at 42, now I have a freshman and a senior. Ryder Duncan is a freshman and Hudson Duncan is a senior. We spent this past Friday wading the creek for their last day, really Hudson's last day ever of summer break, if you want to look at it that way. And man, hit old dad a little bit heavy, but we got to spend it wading the creek. Had our little buddy Andy McLean, who's one of Ryder's best friends. We were down on Andy's dad's farm doing some creek fishing and creek swimming, whatever you want to call it. We mixed it in, caught a bunch of smallmouth, and had a little tournament. Had a little 2-team who could catch the most fish, not bass, just whatever bit. We caught a lot of smallmouth, a lot of largemouth, a lot of black perch, as we call them around here, rock bass. And we've got a couple special guests on this episode. And the first one is the winner. One half of the team, Ryder Duncan, has joined me here in the bar and grill. You're still awaiting your prize money for that from me, I think.
Yeah, man.
Oh, I didn't have your mic on. I'm sorry. Try that again. You're still waiting on your prize money from me.
Yep, I am.
Andy got paid up, though, dude.
Yep.
So what's it like to beat your old man?
Pretty good.
I think you get used to it because we play video games. I mean, about everything you beat me at, I feel like. And now you definitely hold your own in the boat. You hold your own when we're just pond fishing, when we're creek fishing. I mean, you kicked my tail twice. The last 2 times we've been creek fishing in the last 2 weeks, you've whipped my tail, and you seem like you enjoy it. Is that the case?
Sometimes.
Sometimes you enjoy it, or all the time?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it feels pretty good. What about when you beat me at, like, I don't know, Xbox?
I mean, that was just pretty natural. I mean,
That just comes to the territory of being you and me being me. You just beat my old self at beat me up at video games. Not cool, dude. That was a low blow. Ryder likes to pick on me, ladies and gentlemen, like so many of your kids out there do. All right, dude. So this is your first appearance in a very, very, very long time. There were some appearances back in the day, but it's been a while. And I mean, freshman year. As the folks are listening to this, because we're recording this a little bit before Monday, the folks are listening and you are walking the hallways at high school. Are you nervous?
a little bit.
Are you? What are you most nervous about? Chicks. You nervous about like senior girls? If somebody's going to ask you to prom or not? That comes with the territory, dude. Talking about, I mean, I feel like you're going to go in there first day and some senior's going to be like, heard you won a creek fishing tournament against your dad. What's up? Or the next week after this is on YouTube and you blow up and become a YouTube podcast sensation, you're probably not going to be able to walk down the halls anymore. Maybe. You think if it happens, it happens, right? That's what I say, dude. Are you nervous about having a senior that's a brother?
Not really.
You think he's going to have like a cloak of protection? Because, I mean, when I was a freshman, you kind of had to worry about the seniors messing with you a little bit. You think you get a free pass because you're bro and all of his friends?
Yeah, but I am friends with his friends, so I mean, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah. You're buddies with all his, and I feel like your crew is a wrecking crew also. So you guys aren't worried about it. Will it feel weird being in high school though? Like all you've heard about is high school. I feel like between Harper, Charlie, Wes, and now Hudson being a senior, is it going to feel weird Monday?
Yeah, probably.
Probably. All right, we got to talk one more thing here. So it's been brought to my attention by you and your brother. We're going to announce it right here. We're attempting to do this year when we can, doing some high school fishing. Kind of considering the high school fishing route. I mean, Bassmaster and Major League Fishing offer it, different rules in each. I'm going to throw this out there to you for all the low-lifers listening. Bassmaster allows forward-facing sonar, so they allow live scope and they allow Humminbird 360. MLF doesn't. If you had to pick, you're almost 15 years old, you fish all the time, but if you had to pick which trail based on that rule alone, which route are you going? Are we going MLF or are we going Bassmaster for some high school fishing? We'll probably do both, to be fair, but based off of that rule, what is your choice?
Probably Bassmaster.
Really? You like the scope, huh? Mm-hmm. You like the live scope.
Yeah.
But you also, to be fair, you like to just fish shallow. You like to skip docks. You love to fish a frog. Like that is, you like to throw a jig. Yeah. But so you think because it's not allowed though, you would kind of go to the Bassmaster side.
Yeah, a little bit, but I do like both of them because I feel like without the live scope, it's a little bit harder because you don't know where all the fish are.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's more skill involved. But if I did fish Bassmaster,
So you think live scope doesn't require as much skill?
not really. I mean,
Whoa! Hot take from Ryder.
once you learn how to use it, it's not that hard.
Dude, you just broke the internet on your dad's podcast because I would disagree with you and say that it is very hard. It's hard to catch the right size fish. And I think you got to know what you're doing when it comes to baits, how to find those bigger than average fish. There's a skill because everybody's got live scope and there's a certain group of people that kick everybody's teeth in. But you think it's not as hard.
I mean,
Do you think
it's that hard?
Do you think it helps you and your brother because y'all grew up not fishing with it as much as you have? Like if you were going in a live scope free tournament, in MPFL, we ban it, right? So you roll up at an MPFL, but if you roll up at one of these MLF high school deals, you think it gives you an advantage over kids that that's all they've done is they just stare at live scope? Because you guys don't, we do everything when we fish, right? I mean, we scope some, but we still fish a lot of different ways. You think that gives you an advantage?
Kind of, yes.
I love that you said straight up, no skill necessary.
I mean, just once you learn how to use it, I mean, there's some parts of it that are really hard, but like, if you just like learn how to use it, it's just not that hard.
Dude, the comments are just going to be spammed out with people that are just like, see? Because so in the pro fishing world, and I know you don't keep up with it a ton, but it's like fans are super divided on it. You got fans that are for and fans that are against, and then you got tournament trails are kind of taking stands against it in different ways. Like MPFL did, MLF made some changes. Bassmaster really didn't, but for this season that we're in right now, but a lot of people say, don't take any skill. I disagree with your statement. Now, I will say, when I take you guys out and I'm like, hey, throw right there, throw this, blah, 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 probably seems like that sometimes, I would guess. What is your favorite way to catch a bass, though?
Probably flipping docks. I love that.
That's my boy. With an LOB jig, too, right? Really, this kid, he loves him an LOB jig. Flipping docks, and you like to skip. Like you've been skipping bait since you were really small. Yeah. I remember fishing a local tournament with you, and people were like, how old is he? And you're like 7 years old, skipping a chatterbait up under overhanging limbs and stuff. You've always liked to fish shallow, but now you're saying you're a scoper, dude.
I mean, I like to fish shallow more than I like to live scope, but I mean, I'll do both.
Whatever to get a bite, right?
Yeah.
So, no skill necessary. You heard it right here, folks. He doesn't know who Randy Blockett is, but Randy Blockett's probably going to clip that and use that a million times. There's a guy that really hates live scope named Randy Blockett, and he'd love to hear you say that, I'm sure. I'm shocked that you said that, to be honest. All right, real quick, because I got a guest coming on that I'm really excited. You've got heroes, right? Mm-hmm. In the world, you got heroes. I'm going to get to talk today on this episode to somebody that I've been keeping up with since I was younger than you. You're 14 right now, almost 15, and a legend. If you could pick a fishing hero right now, who's your fishing hero? Can be a professional fisherman, can be somebody on YouTube, can be your dad because I'm awesome. I know it's not going to be me, but who's your fishing hero? I feel like I know who you're going to say, but go ahead. Drum roll. I'm drum rolling over here.
Oh, you.
Me? Come on, dude. You don't mean that.
I do.
That's awesome, buddy.
Just kidding. Gerald Swindle.
I was going in for the sentimental, and I got train wrecked by this punk.
You're number two.
I'm number two. Oh, number two. Oh, my gosh. I set myself up for failure. All right. Well, your first appearance in a long time, you butchered your father.
Number two.
Number two in his heart. Am I at least the number one dad in your life? Sweet. Yeah. I'm your only dad. I win that. Yeah. Okay. Gerald Swindle is your favorite. Well, he sucks. Can't say that about him. Come on, dude. See if Gerald Swindle gets you something for Christmas. See if Gerald Swindle takes you to one of these high school tournaments, buddy. See if Gerald Swindle lets you drive his boat and live scope around. No, he can't even turn live scope on. What are you talking about? All right. One more thing before we go, because we've got a guest, another guest. You're a very important guest. This is cool for me. This is very cool to have you on here right before your freshman year starts for me. Dad's getting old, trying to spend as much time with you yahoos as I can. One more thing. Favorite technique you've learned this year fishing? Favorite technique. So we've done some things. Would you say big swim baiting?
Yeah, definitely. That's probably my favorite.
The glide bait world? Yeah, I would say so too. The frogging, you've done a bunch. I feel like lately you've been talking about frogging, but you like the old big glide game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's you're all about that life. There's no doubt about it. Well, you're gonna have to get a job very soon because that big bait life is very expensive. Ladies and gentlemen, my son Ryder Duncan, right here on the podcast. Ryder, you want to shout out your YouTube channel or anything?
Really don't have one.
See, got him. Any of you ladies out there, high school ladies, tons of high school ladies watch this show, by the way. y'all hit him up. Hit him up. Ryder on what do y'all do? The TikToks on the talks. I don't know. Hit him up, man. He's a freshman and he's available as far as I know. No girlfriends?
No.
No girlfriends right now? None? You sure? You don't want to admit that right here on the podcast to the world? No girlfriends. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryder Duncan. All right. This is very cool for me. Very cool. That was very cool having Ryder on, even though he insulted me terribly because he's a terrible child that is now grounded. Little does he know. But we are going to talk to right now one of my fishing heroes. I mentioned it last week. This dude has been such a positive light in professional bass fishing for years and years and years. And when I was a kid, he was someone I looked up to immensely. I still do. I think he set the bar on how to be professional on and off the water. I think he set the bar on how to be a great human. And ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to talk to the mustache of bass fishing right now, Shaw Grigsby. All right, as promised, here he is, the one and only Shaw Grigsby. I said last week, Shaw, the mustache. I said there's a lot of mustaches in bass fishing. Okay, I said, but this is the mustache. Been rocking it for a 40-year career. I feel like. Welcome to Low Budget Live, sir.
Well, Luke, thanks for having me on, man. This is fun.
Well, I can't wait to talk with you. And I reached out to you this week, and I didn't have your cell phone number. I thought I did, and I reached out to Terry Big Show Scroggins. I'm like, hey, give me Shaw's number. I need to chop it up with him about this retirement and what's next. And man, what a cool place to end your tournament.
Oh,
I feel like, and a cool situation, right? Go out fourth. You got a live camera. And on such a special fishery to kind of wind things down.
Yeah, it was really a dream situation. It was a blessing to have it fall the way it did. And I mean, I've always said that, one of my favorite places, when they say, what's your favorite lake to fish or all?
Oh, yeah.
And I say really anything in the Northeast in the Great Lakes area, because the smallmouth, first off, crystal clear water, you can do a lot of sight fishing. Mm-hmm. Smallmouth are crazy, man. They don't quit. They fight you when you think they're done. Like I'm giving up, you're reaching down to lip them or net them, and they just blow up in your face and throw the bait. And it's just like, so they never give up, and it's just a fantastic fish. And then to have it happen the way it happened, to be on, Thousand Islands at Messina and catch a lot of fish and end up making, having fourth place after 2 days and then going ahead and getting a camera. That was fun.
I said last week I was recording when you were live, and I did a little piece about you retiring, and I said, now I've got to get off this podcast because I got to go watch Shaw live. So I did that, man, because I thought, man, you couldn't have written that any better to have this 40-year career just go down like that. And I saw a snippet. And if you don't care to share, if you can remember, but I saw a snippet on social media, not the full thing, but you addressed everyone at the meeting, correct?
Yes, I didn't know they were doing anything. I mean, I had told people, I'm out. This is going to be, the end of my career is going to be this season. My career's as competing on a national circuit. And so, I'd never heard anything from anybody. And then all of a sudden they called me up at the meeting and stand me in front of the crowds and start telling stories and then showing some video. And it was just, I think the coolest moment for me, and it was the most heartfelt moment for me, is because, these guys are so good. I mean, these new young anglers are, oh my goodness, whether it's the Robinson boys or any of these guys, they're just, Banks, Shaw, and all these guys are just incredible anglers. And so Kevin Hunt asked the
Yep.
crowd, all the anglers, and he just said, hey, he said, let me just see a show of hands. How many of y'all have been affected by Shaw Grigsby, learned something from it, all this kind of stuff? And every hand went up. I went, oh my gosh, it was like, it choked me, because you don't think of it as a professional. You just do your thing, and you're loving every minute. You feel so blessed to be in the industry. I know you feel the same way.
Yes,
We're just
sir.
blessed to make a living doing this and in this industry. And we don't think of the repercussions. We don't think of the ripples. So there's people that throw out some pretty bad wakes, and then there's people that throw out some good wakes, and it was really an honor to have that happen. And so it was special, real special.
Oh, I think it speaks to the testament of who you are. And I said this before we hit record, but I owe you so many thank yous for truly just, I mean, you inspired me as a young man reading the book Bassmaster. It's on my bookshelf in my house right now. My parents bought it for me for Christmas one year. And that book,
so cool.
Yeah. And that book, those stories, are so many of those stories. I want to actually ask you about a couple of them today, but that book, but just watching your show, getting to meet you at a young age, just at a classic, as a fan, I remember that, but just, you were so positive. And you were such a consummate professional on and off the water. And I think there was just a few guys that, I don't want to say maybe figure it out is not the right way, but I think about a Kevin Van Dam, right? But the Larry Nixons before him. Shaw,
yeah.
But you guys figured it out on and off the water. You were incredible tournament anglers, but you were also leading the way in how you should have a career if you want to actually make a living, right? Because tournament winnings you won over $2 million in 40 years, but that doesn't go a long ways, right?
No, it's these guys right here.
That's right.
That pay your everyday bills, that
right.
keep you going. And then when you win, that kind of can be set back. So that money can be be your retirement type thing. So
yes.
That's sponsors are so important because in fishing, as you know, you're not going to be on top all the time. You're going to have spells where you can't figure out what you're doing wrong, and you just keep digging and keep digging, and then all of a sudden you get back on top and you're rocking and rolling. There may be 2 or 3 years or 4 years where you're just kicking it, and you're like, oh, this is awesome, and then all of a sudden you're down the bottom. So you have to learn to handle the highs and the lows. And that's part of the sport. And during those low times, these guys are really on top of it.
Well, absolutely. And I can remember you talking about the amount of travel that came with not only being on the professional tour, but for sponsors, doing sports shows, doing speaking engagements. I know your faith is very important to you as well.
Absolutely.
You were always doing that. And that's something that I really took away as a kid, thinking, man, if I'm going to do this, you've got to go the extra mile, and then you've got to go a little bit further. And I was never that successful as a tournament angler. I've been very fortunate on all other sides, I should say, facets, to be able to make a living, whether that's selling boat parts in the industry to kind of stay in it, and different things along the way, with a tournament career mixed in there a few years as well. But you were that guy to me, man, that really stuck out, and your loyalty to sponsors, to companies, I think has been very impressive too. And so many folks jump around, and I feel like there's some names on your jersey that have been there for a very, very, very long time.
Yeah. Mercury was first off. I mean, that's been with me. Lowrance, I've never used another electronics product, and Eagle Claw back in the day. So, you look at some of these guys and Strike Kings. I mean, most of these are, 20-year, 25-year, relationships, or 30 years. And Triton has been with me, oh my gosh, forever. So there's just tons of them. Strike King, like I said, 25. Lose has been relatively new. They kind of merged together, Strike King and Lose, and so in one group. So that ended up being that way. But Sims has been with me ever since Sims got into fishing, into the bass fishing deal, and so my goodness, Starbright the same thing, and it's just Seagar has been. Now that's a little different. I had one line company, Stren, forever.
Yeah,
To
I was going
begin.
to say, I remember
Yeah,
some Strike King Stren ads.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
excuse me,
And
Stren Shaw ads, I
yeah,
should say.
and then they got purchased,
Mm-hmm.
and so I lost that contract, and then I got a deal with Suffolk. Then they got purchased. I lost that contract, so then I'm with Seagar. So so I had a few changes there, and there was a couple changes in the boat deal too, because I started the very first boat I ever had was a Ranger.
Yeah.
And then I got this huge deal. I mean, one of those big offers for a Team Brunswick, which was, Mercury, Zebco Quantum Motor Guide, and the boat company. So you put everything encompassed from the rod, the reel, the trolling motor, the boat, the motor, and everything in one group. And I mean, it was spectacular. So when I did that deal, I ended up leaving Ranger and going with Astro Procraft. And then when that deal fell apart, and those things happen. You know how
Oh,
companies
yeah.
get
That's
bought, or new marketing guy gets in and say, "Hey, we don't want to do that deal. We want to do this deal." And
right. Mhm.
and so when that fell apart, then I've been with Triton ever since.
Yeah, you've been. I remember you were one of the original Triton guys, right? When Earl first started Triton in the late '90s.
I was a little behind. I was like maybe a year or two back on
Okay,
that.
okay. Because I remember Guy Aker, was
He's the man. I mean, he was
yeah,
number one. He
he
was
was
number
number
one.
one. Yeah, and he's same with Camus now, I believe, on Earl's
Yeah,
new
yeah.
venture there. But I remember that original. I think Swindle was around those early days. Randy Howe, there were so many on that those early Triton team days. So out of your career, 9 wins, and I feel like I can quote them because I'm a fanboy for sure. But out of those 9 wins, I think about one of my favorite ones was the most recent on the Harris chain. Grant Goldbeck, you guys duking it out, and I'm like, I remember seeing that show, how incredible that was. But out of your 9 wins, do you have one that is your favorite that jumps out, and why?
Man, that's a tough one. That one, with Grant was real special. And the second day, I caught a 10-pounder on a swim
Mm-hmm.
bait and I think I had 29 something. So I almost hit the 30-pound mark, and, jumped up in there, and then it was hold on, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was exciting. It was tough. I wasn't positive, I won. And so, it's coming down to the last minute, and now everybody's coming up. Oh, you got this, you got this. And I'm like, no, I don't. Not till I put those fish on the scale, because you're always worried that you're going to get knocked off, and, so that one was real special. The first one was special. It was a little heartbreaking. My first win at Rayburn was crazy, because it's the first time that BASS had ever canceled a day because of weather.
Yes.
And so I had caught them, and every day, and I'm in the lead, and all of a sudden they go, the winds are supposed to be really, really bad, and we're out of the bottom end. So no matter what you do, you're going out in the
Mm-hmm.
waves, the big waves. And they just said, no, it's too dangerous. And I'm sitting there, and they said, so you're the winner. And I'm like, I can't do that. I mean, everybody that has fished tournaments for the entire history of bass, that was almost 20 years. That was in '86, I believe, right? '86,
I
something
believe,
in that, at Rayburn. Anyway, the entire history had one fishing every day. And so all of a sudden I win a day shortened event, and I'm like, that you can't do that. So I was really struggling with accepting that. And I was sitting at the dock, and I said, man, we're going. So I took my partner and we ran across the pocket, which was one of the pockets that I'd fished, and on limits deal. and I fished, while they were doing all the BS and stuff that they had to do.
Yeah.
And I fished. The first thing I did, I drug my tube out away from one of those bushes. And I caught about a 2-pounder or something. Yeah, I get a limit. So I'd had this one. So I felt better. Then I went back in. But I had to do that to be able to accept that, it was different. Now we have shortened days all the time. Now you're in the lead. You go, come on and cut the day off.
Yeah. You see the forecast and you're like, let's go, please. It's funny you brought that one up because I actually had that in my notes. That was one of the stories that since I was a kid, I cannot remember how old I was exactly when I got that book, but that story stuck with me so much that I wrote that down when I was preparing to talk to you. That was one of those, and I remember that section and you being distraught, basically, like the way you described, like, I don't want to be handed this, and that you did. You grabbed your partner and said, "Hey, we're going to go, and I'm going to prove to myself." And you caught one real quick and said, "Okay, I can live with this," because that was the first ever. Now, listen to this, folks. That was the first ever, like he's saying, weather cancellations happen in the blink of an eye now, but back then they weren't.
Never. We went in everything, everything. And so, yeah, that was the first ever. And wow. Yeah. Long time ago.
Unbelievable to think about that you guys went, to places like the St. Lawrence, right? Some of those old invitationals and things, and very small boats considered what we
had 17 footers. And I remember one time, I'm trying to think, I was coming back maybe from Chameau Bay or something, and I think it was Houston's boat was just crashing up on the rocks, and something had happened to his motor. He got in somebody else's boat and they made it back, but his boat's being destroyed out there. But we went in that stuff and it was on your own, but back then everybody took responsibility. This is our deal. And now everybody shirks responsibility and blames the organization, and it's not the organization. It was, you choose to do that. It's on you,
Yeah.
And so it was a different time, in life. And, but yeah, it was crazy.
Do you think that, because I see comments a lot from folks, of course, everybody's got an opinion on everything in the world, and especially professional bass fishing, but myself included in that. I'll put myself in that category, but obviously, when it comes to weather cancellations, sometimes, and I work for the MPFL, work for the Alabama Bass Trail. They have to make tough decisions all the time. I've been in the middle of those conversations. I get it. It's very difficult, but sometimes when I think about the past, when there weren't as many cancellations, that was a part of the storyline.
Yes.
Who can kind of overcome that? Who can drive their boat a little bit better than the next guy in big water? Or who's got the right kind of trolling motor? Or who's got the right kind of area found to survive all those days? Do you kind of agree with that? That sometimes,
yes.
Hey, let's go.
There was a tournament at Seneca, New York, and Paul Elias won it. And he won it because he was one of the few boats to make it back. A lot of guys just said, I can't make it, and they call for trailers, and that happened a lot in New York. But those big lakes, you realize that you put. Here's a funny story. So I end up getting paired with Paul, right? And it's bad. And we just got that ProCraft 20 or 18 HP high performance, a short little fast boat. And so we're coming out and we take off, and we're going to go down to Chameau and Henderson and all that, catch big smallies. So on the way, I see all these boats turning around, and we're just taking it easy and coming through the waves. And of course, me being me, I'm like giving them grief. I'm like, you wimp, this is no big deal, and I keep going and going and going. And anyway, so we get out there and we're almost, and it's taking us a while. We're standing the boat up and we're doing the waves, and we're going, and we're almost to the lighthouse, where you can get outside and then turn, and I got this boat stood straight up. I'm just powering down like, come on. I think I can. And all of a sudden a wave breaks over the bow and rolls into the boat. And this is when it stood up, and I went, turned back around, and Paul hits me and said, you better go apologize to every one of those guys.
I can hear him saying that too. I can hear that.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny. We did pretty good inside, but it was funny because I was so positive. I said, I'm gonna make this. Oh yeah, I got this, and oh no, I didn't have it at all.
You just got to out tough everybody a little bit, or out dumb them a little bit. You know what I mean?
That's probably the better word for it.
Yes, it's like I've been there in terms like, well, they're all turning around. I'm going to go, and then most of the time you do end up paying for it. I think even if you know what you're doing, like yourself, rough water can definitely beat up your pride and your equipment. There's no doubt about it. Well, in your career, something that I feel like everybody learned from you, and I want to blame you for this. That sight fishing, it's very hard to dominate these days. I believe that's Shaw Grigsby and Guido Hibden's fault because you taught all the knuckleheads like myself how to do it. But why sight fishing? What was it about that technique for you that was just it? That was your signature technique. But what led you for? Hey, this is check the box. This is my favorite technique in bass fishing.
I guess because we have so many clear water areas in Florida. And so being born and raised here and then learning to bass fish, when you're out there and you're, 15, 14, 16, and you're not catching much and you're working hard and you see a bass just sitting there on a bed. And so, you start pestering them. And back in the old days, they said, you can't catch them. They don't bite, so you can't catch them. Well, when you're a kid, you just sit there and you just keep pestering them. You got nothing else to do. There's one there, doggone it, and all of a sudden he bites. He gets ticked off. He spins around a few times. He hauls off and eats your bait. And you go, ooh, and then you learn you can catch them. And so, then you learn little techniques and little things that, maybe help you a little more, staying farther off, making longer casts, all these kind of things and that keep the fish more settled and gets them more aggravated. And so, so it just turned out that I love that aspect of it. And then, we would have some tournaments every year that would be, big sight fishing tournaments. And sometimes it'd be one, sometimes it'd be three of them that would be that way. And then, because back in the old days, we'd start in September. So that would be the first tournament would be September and the last tournament would be May. So the last few tournaments, whether that was at February, March, whatever, January, February, March, you could count on wherever you were, they were probably spawning.
Oh, for sure. And I remember when a good friend of my dad's telling me when I was a kid, he's like, he had fished Everstarts and Jerry Ryan's and things. And trying to make it. And he'd say, one thing you better learn to sight fish, or you're going to get your teeth kicked in. And I became so obsessed with sight fishing based off of that statement, based off of watching guys like you on the Bassmasters on TNN. I'm like, oh yeah. And that was, to this day, if I've got to pick, that's what I'm going to go do. I don't care. Yeah. Like I just, it's what I love, whether that's, spawners or otherwise, just cruisers,
right. Clear water.
Yeah, just whatever. I just love that. I love everything about it. I always will till they put me in the ground one of these days. I've kind of passed that on to my kids. They love it as well. There's just something about it, but it's strange to me now. Maybe it's scheduling, or maybe it is the fact that a lot more people look for it now. I feel like you guys were such specialists, and then you had about 10 or 12 guys that I feel like would just kind of focus in on that, and then everybody else would kind of look for other patterns almost. But it seems like now when it is an all-out sight bite, it's harder to dominate. Is that a fair assessment, you think? Because that's the deal.
Everybody is a good sight fisherman now, and you do have to have a little bit better vision.
For sure.
But overall, everybody gets it. And then now they start to use the forward-facing sonar, and they're able to see them on a stump and see them circling the stump. And I remember at Kentucky Lake, I was going down a bank, and there was like a rocky point, and I saw this bass, on my active target too. I saw this bass shoot out and turn around and go right back. I went, he just chased the bluegill off a bed. As soon as I saw it, I said, I know what that is. There's a bed right there. And so, I caught that one too. So, it's like, how cool is that now?
I know.
Everybody figures it out. And so it's not a technique that, they still catch them, and it's not a technique that's really dominates like it did back in the 80s and 90s.
Sometimes in smallmouth tournaments, we'll see it. MPFL on the St. Lawrence. It was all, they were still a ton of them on the bed there. And you still have guys. I'll put the Drew Cooks of the world. Drew's a fantastic sight fisherman.
Stunning, yeah.
Drew Benton, of course, John Cox, Keith Carson. I feel like they're like might as well be your adopted sons, though.
You knocked out four of the best. I mean,
no doubt.
They're all four of those guys are tremendous. Yeah,
incredible. I've told this story on the show a few times, but John, one time we were at Chickamauga at an FLW Tour event, and I was in this little creek, and he comes in. And I'm going down this bank, and I knew where a 5-pounder was at, and I was going to check to see if any new ones had moved up on this left-hand bank. Well, John pulls in, and I'm like, oh, well, I got to go catch this 5-pounder because here comes John boy. So I go over there and pull down, and he goes, hey, are you going to fish for this one over here, bud? And I said, I had not seen it. Shaw Grigsby, it was an 8-pounder, and John Cox. I thought I could see them. I was like, oh, I got this. I can see. Whatever. I'm going to catch this 5. Because there weren't a ton. It was kind of late in the cycle, and there weren't that many. And John ended up winning that tournament. I made the cut in it and had a good event, but he catches that one, and he's like, sorry, buddy. Don't say sorry. I'm blind as a bat, apparently. But he knew,
He is so good, though. I mean, he truly is. And he's such a nice guy, too. I mean, just, he's one of those guys that does it right, and yes. Just really good guy. So, yeah, I love him. He's tremendous.
I love some John. He's one of my favorites out there, man. And getting to compete against him, got to know him during those days, and now he's fishing MPFL with us, and I get to see him at all those events. I miss Keith Carson. Keith Carson's crushing it on the Bass Pro Tour these days, but he started with the MPFL, and phenomenal anglers, man. They just get it all the way around. It's getting hot everywhere in the country right now, and the folks at Gill want to cool you off. You can use the code LBL20 at checkout at gillfishing.com on some of their amazing sun shirts, their shorts. Get a rain suit, get your life together, and use code LBL20. Don't use anything that Todd Castledine tells you ever. Don't use this code, okay? Don't use this code. It's been brought to my attention. He's trying to sway people from using the LBL code. We can't have that lowlifer. Show him what's up at gillfishing.com. Pro Guy Batteries, ProGuyBatteries.com, manufacturers of some of the best batteries in the game. Why? Because they've been in the battery business for over 40 years, whether it is their AGMs, their lead acids, or their new Alpha Series lithium line, or even their chargers. They've got it going on. ProGuyBatteries.com. You can use code LBL10 to save money at checkout, and trust me, you can trust the folks at Pro Guy Batteries. There's a lot of battery companies out there these days. Trust somebody that's been in the business for a long time. ProGuyBatteries.com. Baitworks.com, bait-wrx.com. That's the exclusive online home of this little nugget right here, the LOB Power Finesse Jig. You can get it there. You can use code Duncan-10, DUNKIN-10 on everything at baitworks.com to save you a little cash. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to my buddy, Michael Cowart, Shallow Tails Adventures. You can find Michael at Shallow Tails, TAILS adventures at gmail.com. If you are in the panhandle of Florida on a vacation, you want to go try to catch a tarpon, you want to go try to catch a redfish, there's nobody better. Captain Michael Cowart, one of the best dudes I know. Go check him out, Shallow Tails Adventure. You will not be disappointed with a day on the water with Captain Mike. So when folks retire, typically from a pro sport, whatever that may be, I feel like one of the things you hear them talk about the most are the near misses more than the victories, right? If you won 5 Super Bowls in the NFL, but you'll always go back to the one AFC championship you got beat. If you're a quarterback, I threw 2 picks and we got beat. For you, do you have anything like that looking back? Oh, yeah. I feel like I know what you're going to say. But,
unfortunately, I was leading, in the first year we did the top 100s, and so the Angler of the Year was the top 100s, and I was like 26 points ahead. So basically, I had it won, for Angler of the Year, and I think this was 2 of them that I had that. But anyway, that one was real, like I'm going to win this thing. And I go to this tournament. I think it was the last tournament of the year. Was up there at Quad Cities on the Mississippi River, and way up north. And the first day I bomb. The second day I start catching them, and I catch them. And then the final day, I'm still in good shape. The final day, I I catch like, whatever, 3 or 4, and I make a pitch to this tree. So I'm just pitching a craw, little Texas rig,
Mhm.
and I'm pitching. There's like a major tree, and there's a lay down, horizontal log. And you know how they love horizontal better
Mhm.
than they do vertical most of the time. So I made this pitch, and I was trying to like hit that log and just drop it in. Well, it hit the log, and apparently I pitched just, a fraction too hard, and it skipped over the log. So now it's on the back side of the log, and it's not a big log. I mean, it's probably a 4 to 6 inch log, and it fell down the backside. Thunk, I get a bite. I set the hook, and this hot, and you never know what causes a fish to do this, whether you hit it in a nerve or something, the hook penetrated somewhere that just fired him up. But he comes straight at me, so now my line goes out there around the log and comes straight at me, and he is just hotter than hot, just going crazy, and shoots up on top and just shaking and going nuts, and breaks me off. And I'm like, and it was like a 3.5 pounder, and I needed about a 2 pounder to be angler of the year. So it was one of those things that, crush you. All of a sudden you're supposed to be angler of the year and you're not. And I think I did something like that twice. So yeah, I've had those issues, but that one was probably the one that you never forget.
As much as I hate that for you, I love that story because all fishermen, I feel like we remember almost every bite we ever get. I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning, Shaw, but I can probably tell you about what I lost on a square bill somewhere in 2001.
It
With
is
my
it
dad
is
in a Fishers of Men tournament or something.
Isn't it crazy how cool this sport is, though, Luke?
It's so amazing,
that you get out there, and you'll go to a lake and you go, oh man, I remember catching one right there on that
Yes.
bush, and it's like catching a fish imprints in your mind way deeper, way stronger the memory than almost anything else in your life. I mean, there's some other things, but we won't talk about that on
Yeah,
camera.
there's a few. There's a few. But what is it about the outdoors though? Because hunting's the same way, right? And I know you're an avid hunter as well. There's something about that. I mean, I lost my dad this fall, and I was talking to my boys. We've hunted the same farm, same deer lease for 30 years, and when you walk by a certain tree, you know what I mean? You might not even hunt that same, there might not even be a stand there anymore, right? But it's something about the dirt, something about the smell. It's every little memory that is attached to that when you're in the outdoors. And I feel sorry for people that don't enjoy the outdoors, because I feel like that's such a large part of why we're all hooked on it.
Yeah, well, it's also why we're alive. I mean, that's very primitive in what we are. And I have memories of being in a deer stand. Those crisp mornings and the smell and the rest of it. It's just like, yeah, they stay with you forever. But that's real life. And nowadays, and just like you said, I feel sorry for the youngsters that feel that the computers are real life, because it doesn't. It's not. You learn so much more outdoors and interacting with nature and seeing what goes on. And I'm trying to teach my grandson the same thing, because we do a lot of gator trapping now. We're nuisance gator trappers, and there's a difference. When I grew up catching animals and I caught poisonous snakes. In fact, I took 2 poisonous snakes to school and alive in an aquarium, and we were able to set them on a table. We didn't worry about somebody thinking they were faster than that snake. They'd put their hand in there. We didn't have to worry about. Stupid has really invaded the society now.
I agree.
Back then they were a lot smarter. So I had a live cottonmouth and a live rattlesnake. But you learned how to grab them, how to hold them, how to hold them where you're not going to get bit, and how to capture them where they don't get hurt and all that. So I'm teaching that, trying to teach that, to the next generation, of how to capture things and hold things and handle things and manage things, and when you have to be really careful, and when you got it settled. So it's interesting that the youngsters don't get outdoors like we did, and don't grow up like that, and I admire those families that we have Lucas Black, on tour,
Yes. Amen.
and he's a
Lovely.
great guy. And
Yes.
and from what I'm seeing, I mean, I just love hanging around him. But what I've seen about him is that he's really raising his kids right, and
Yeah.
and that's cool. I got a good friend of mine that's a YouTube guy, and Blue Gabe, and Blue Gabe. The thing that got me about him, and it was before I think he had his YouTube channel. He was just had videos that would be on Facebook and stuff.
Mhm.
And I see him take his kids out in the Atlantic, and these kids, it can't be 5 years old, little old squirts, and they're diving down, free diving 20, 25 feet and getting lobster and grabbing stuff. And I'm like, these kids are tough. That dad's, teaching them about the outdoors. And you see it, and they're raised, barefoot, running around, same thing we did, but he's showing it, and so you don't have a lot of parents that do that, that the kids learn about, everything outdoors and how to handle yourself. That's pretty cool.
No, I think it's a very important, especially if we want this to exist the way it's always existed. I feel like it is very important for us to be stewards to that,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I try to do that with my boys. I was thinking, I took my boys actually yesterday. We went and I grew up, my favorite way to catch a bass, or the favorite way to fish, I should say, is wading small streams in Tennessee.
Really?
I love it. I would listen, I love my express bass boat. Thankful for it that I have one. If you took it away tomorrow, several months out of the year, I'm still just going to use my legs as a trolling motor, and I'm going to go wade in that creek. And because you get to sight fish a lot, y'all, it's
Yeah.
very clear, but my boys love it. And we went yesterday, but I was actually telling them a story, and we've gone 2 or 3 times this summer. And I told them that when I was 16, that there were stretches that I would fish 7 days straight in the different creeks around here. And they're like, what? And they called my dad Big, and they said, Big would let you do that? And I'm like, yeah, he'd rather me be doing that than getting into trouble when I had my driver's license, And my oldest, who's fixing to be 18, was just amazed. He was like, well, I can't believe you used to do that. And I said, buddy, all you got to do is ask. You can go do it too. He just doesn't, they don't live like we used to live. Even trying to teach them, it's just a different time, man.
Yeah. I'll tell you 2 stories. One, when I was young and we didn't drive, my mom would take myself and the young guy, my kid that got me into bass fishing. His name was Jerry Beavis, and Jerry taught me and really got me to start tournament fishing. So mom would take us and drive us to this lake and dump us out and pick us up before dark. We were supposed to meet at 5:30 or 6 or whatever. And we'd be wading back in there with alligators and snakes and all the rest. I mean, that's what we did. And so, wade fishing, we've done that. But here's the real deal. My dad loved every summer when we got out of school. The first thing we did when we got out of school, and usually it was like in the first part of June, or mid-June, we would go for a week or 2 to the mountains and trout fish in the streams. And he loved it. I loved it. He was a big fly fisherman. I thought that was the biggest waste of time to fly fish for something when I could take a spinning rod and pull out there and reel a little spinner and catch them, And but oh my goodness, we ate trout and we loved it. All mainly we went to Highlands, North Carolina, and fished all those streams there, and we got to learn them all. And then I think 1 year or so towards the end that we did that, I think we went one time to Helen, Georgia, and spent some time there. But Highlands was it was special because there were so many streams, and you could go up, you could go down, you go sideways. There was trout everywhere.
Now, is that something you still do to this day?
I have not. I've been wanting to do that again. That's kind of a bucket list. I'd love to take my grandkids up there and do that.
Yes.
It's just wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I have fly fished a few times. I'm like you. I'm way more efficient with the spinning setup for sure. I've gone to Montana a time or 2. I love it. I respect it. It's very cool. It is probably not for me to do all the time. Now, I've got some bucket list stuff. I would love to catch a tarpon on a fly. I would love to catch a fish on a fly, all the things. But but it's definitely a little trickier than firing that spinning pole out there.
Yeah. When I started my show, I thought that I would do it all on a fly rod. That's how much I love fly fishing.
Really? Okay.
And oh yeah, I would, but there just weren't enough sponsors to support a show to do
Yeah.
that. And so we did a little bit of fly fishing. We did some fly fishing for tarpon. We did a fly fishing bonefish show. We did some fly fishing, but we didn't spend as much time on it. But I used to, believe it or not, when we go up to Thousand Islands, there was never a time when I went up there that I didn't have a fly rod in my boat. And if I got on a topwater bite board, I'd pull that fly rod out real quick and throw that little popping bug, pop, and hook those smallmouth, and they're just going crazy. And I'm like, this is so cool. But yeah, fly fishing is neat. But it was about eating back then. So it was about catching a limit of trout and bringing them in and eating them and frying them. Oh, they were just heaven.
Putting numbers on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Numbers on the board for sure. So I know you mentioned the Noosa gator hunting, but I read an article that now that the bass tournament career is gonna step aside. And I know you said in the article I read that you might entertain fishing some one-off stuff here and there if you get the opportunity.
Right.
But talk about this nuisance gator.
Yeah,
that you're all that is wild.
It's so good. It's so fun. So I just got to meet the trapper, the guy he's got 3 counties, and he's got Alachua County, which is where I live, Gainesville, and then he's got Citrus and Levy. So Citrus is Crystal River and Homosassa and goes even down to Floral City. So it's about an hour and a half south to about 30 or 40 minutes north, and a pretty wide section. And so we get, sometimes I thought this was going to be like 1 a week, 2 a week, 3 a week, that a gator would crawl into somebody's swimming pool or something like that. And in the last month, they were like 6 or 7 a day. I'm like, this is amazing. So I am like so busy. It was just incredible. And it's fun because it's rod and reel. So most of what we do is I take this big Lew's Super Duty reel and rod, and I got 80-pound braid spooled up on it. I got a 3/0 trocar that they made for just a short period of time. They made it actually for those big jig and spoons that, I'm trying to remember. Nichols had that big spoon, that foot long giant, looks like a tennis shoe that you're throwing. And so anyway, those hooks penetrate. They're trocar. It's the same point that they use to do a hypodermic needle, to give you an injection. And it penetrates so easy and so fast, so it actually sticks them, and then we can fight them around. So it's kind of like hooking a 10-pound bass with 10-pound test. So you're just kind of holding on with him, right? And you follow him around because he can blister you and go into all kinds of things, but it shows you where he is. Then you can either get the big hook or put 2 of them in him and lift him up and get a lasso around him. So these are all live captures. We capture them live, which we try to keep all our fingers, all our hands and arms, because that can be really dangerous. But, yeah. So anyway, and then we got to put them against, usually I pull them up against the side of the boat where they can't see, and get their head against it, and then grab their mouth and tape them. But once you wear them out, they get so tired that they don't really want to do anything. You get them tired, and that's it. And so then we tape them and we drag them in, and we've sold a bunch to Gatorland in Orlando, big tourist attraction. There's actually one there named after my grandson that we did there. Cool. We take him to gator farms all up and down the state. And so, and then if he's small, we can release him into sanctuary, which we have right here. We have Payne's Prairie, which is a sanctuary, and we just let them go. So but they got to be under 4 feet for that.
So when you get 6 calls in a day, you're running around relocating 6 gators in one day? Well, we
throw them all in a trailer, right? Okay. So as soon as we do it, we throw them in a trailer, and we've had a few of them, that go into the night, and it gets to be pretty brutal to catch them at night. I've had we had one, my grandson and I, we knew we were going to get there just before dark, but this one was a really big gator and wouldn't leave anybody alone and literally just comes to it. So obviously somebody close by had fed this gator, so that lost its fear, man. It was a big one, 10.5 feet, maybe a little more, 10.9, something like that, 10.8, 10.9. Anyway, so we hook it, and it's just, there's nothing you can do because he's so big. He just strips drag and goes, and we put 2 hooks in it, and we kept following down the canal, and we ended up finally getting a big hook into him, one of those throw hooks, and pulling him up, getting a lasso on him. And then Bryce and I had to jump in the water and drag him all the way back to where we could get him. We had to hook a truck to him. We had to put a rope around him and drag him up the bank with a truck because we couldn't get him up. And it was like till 11 o'clock at night. So it was brutal. And yeah. Crazy.
When people say the headlines, Florida man does X, you might be Florida. I thought it was John Cox. I thought John Cox was Florida man. I think Shaw Grigsby might be Florida. That is. Yeah. I can't imagine tangling, especially in a catch and release situation with a gator. I don't know, Shaw.
We had one last year. Actually, it's this year. It was earlier, 11/1, and it was like probably February. So it was a real long, drawn out deal. We had to scout this gator, see what his movements were, see what he did. We finally end up hooking him up. We finally drag him around a bunch, and we finally get a lasso on him. Now we're dragging him to the bank, and that was mistake number one. Is we should have gone ahead, played him down to the final bits, and taped him, then taking him to the bank. Well, we're dragging him to the bank. There's 3 of us in this little John boat. I got this little motor guide on the back that's pushing us along, and we're dragging this 11-footer. And as we got shallow, it came up, and now the gator's real close to the boat, and he's right next to my grandson. Well, he turns around, and I'm on the trolling motor, so I'm not really paying attention, but it felt like somebody had hit the boat with a baseball bat, just boom. And I'm like, what was that? And I turn around, and Bryce is like, my grandson's sitting up front on the edge of the boat on the front, and right next to his feet are holes, look like you shot 45s right through it, 2 of them, and 1 in the side, and water shooting up through those 2 holes. And I'm like, we're going down. There's just water going with a mad 11-footer right next to you. And so I told Bryce, I said, okay, we figure this out. I said, listen, you ease your way back to the second seat, and then you come back here to me, And so we got him in the back because he's a big kid. So that lifted the front of the boat. So now it's not taking on water. So we had 2 streams like you put garden hoses in there and shooting water into the John boat. And we got that up. And then I got to the center seat and took one of my rods, and I had the guys bring a rope down, and I cast over and hooked the rope and drug the rope out, and then they hooked the rope to a one of those side by sides, and they drug my boat up on the bank while we're dragging the gator, and then we jumped on him and got him done. So, but that was it was still fun. It was it's been a lot of fun.
How did you get into this? I have to ask, how does this, I feel like this isn't something that just falls into your lap. How do you figure out this is where you're headed?
So, Scroggins in the last 2 years has really gotten into gator hunting, and John Cox has gotten into that. There's a gator season that's just getting ready to start August 15th. That'll be first week. And so that's what we used to do. We used to wait all year, just like a deer season, and you had to draw tags. So you had to draw to get in there. So let's say there was 20,000 people that put in for 7,000 tags. So you didn't get drawn all the time. But when you did draw, you're like, oh yeah, here we go. We get to go get gators. But we're killing those, right? These are harvesting just like you'd harvest a deer, and you're going to take all the venison home and eat it. We're going to harvest that gator. We're going to bring the gator meat back, and we're going to eat it. And so, but you also have fun looking for a trophy, something that's over 10, And so, so we were doing that a lot. And then I met at one of the CCA banquets or Ducks Unlimited. I met the trapper, and he says, you need to come with me sometime. And I go, man, because we love it. And we had refined it down because we knew about the trocar, and we really got these things settled on how to catch them, And so anyway, I started riding with I did a gator show with Blue Game. I learned so much from him too, because he's one of those guys that's just done it his whole life, and so so anyway, I start going with Ron, and we start picking up on different things, and I'm teaching him, he's teaching me, and next thing you know, we're just like the super team. And so when we get a gator, we usually get him, and it's just so much fun, and especially the live capture and learning how and when and what to get him where you're gonna be able to grab him and tape him and keep from having any issues. And so we keep refining that, and so, but gosh, it's so fun. And we've done a lot of videos on Facebook for me, and so you could see some of them. The last one we got, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I think it was just before I left. I think I was leaving to go to New York. I was leaving. I think. Oh, I left it. No, I was leaving to go to ICAST. That's what it was. So it was the week before. It was the weekend of ICAST. I had to go to ICAST Sunday because I was practicing for ICAST Cup. So I wanted to practice all day Monday, and I went Sunday. Well, Sunday we get this call on this giant, and I mean, I'm talking like a 11.6, 11.5, 11.6, 11.7. I mean, giant. And he was big and old and just big around, and so we slip up on this gator and we get him, and it was an epic battle. And we're in this little John boat. So my boat was just a boat that was, has some width to it. So it's pretty stable, but you still iffy. But this one doesn't have any width to it. It's like a little, whatever, 48 by whatever, 12 by whatever. Gator's about as long as the boat. And it was an incredible battle, an epic thing. And we did get him, and we captured and we got him in. And so this guy that was called it in was filming a lot of it with his cell phone. So we put a lot of those videos up, and so that's probably, you keep up with me. I'm still going to fish some. I'm still going to do the ICAST. I'm still going to do the Bassmasters Classic and Red Crest and sport shows and tackle shows and things like that. But you want to catch me on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram. It'll be some cool gator stuff. And let's hope that we don't have any accidents. Lucas had a great T-shirt he wore one day, and I said, man, I got to steal that from you. And it's I said, do you make it with a gator? Because he had deer horns, right? Big deer horns on it. And it's one of the things I guess he sells on his website.
Yes.
And it says, we do dangerous things carefully. And that's nuisance gator trapping. That's what it is. We do really dangerous things carefully because we don't want to get hit. We don't want to get bit. They get you, they roll, they rip your arm off and create some real trauma. So we don't want to have any of that.
My favorite thing you said there was that you guys have refined your techniques. And I'm thinking, you don't get a lot of chances to refine techniques with an 11-foot gator biting at you with those teeth. You better refine quick.
Real quick. We've had issues. We've had mistakes that we have not had any issues with, haven't got bit or anything. But one, we had a gator that maybe it got hit by a boat when it was real young. So it had a hunchback. It broke its back. And we capture this gator. And so we tape it, we bring it in, and he's big enough that we just say we're not going to drag him, up to the trailer. So we have the rope around his chest, and we're just going to pull him up with the truck, just drag him up a bit to the trailer and then throw him in the trailer. So we don't have to work as hard. We work smarter, not harder. Well, what we didn't realize is his head, since his back is broken, that forces his head and jaw down. When we drug him up the old concrete ramp, it tore the tape off. Oh, we didn't know that. So you still got tape across here. I go down to grab this thing. He wheels back and snaps at me, and it doesn't miss me by much, but I'm like, woo, that was close, And so now we do like more wraps, and we make sure that head's up, and we don't ever drag one where he's going to have that issue again. So you learn little things quick. Yeah. And we're thankful that we didn't learn that by grabbing my leg or boot or something like that. So.
Yeah, amen to that. Holy cows. So guys, if you're listening, Shaw Grigsby is the man. You call him if you got something you taken care of. He will come take care of the nuisance in your life. I don't know if that works for like brother-in-laws or
Our mother-in-laws, yeah.
Yeah, a boss or something. Shaw's the man. All right, Shaw, one final thing, man. And again, I can't thank you enough for doing this. But I have to ask, what will you miss most about the tournament world?
That really is my easiest question. So it's guys like you. It's the family. It's an extended family out there. Not being around, Big Show and all my buddies and not seeing them and talking to them, Klein, you name the group of guys. There's, Drew, just even, I don't spend a lot of time with Drew Gill, but I do spend enough time talking to him. And you got friends, man. And that's, I'm going to miss that. That's an extended family. It's like a big giant fraternity. And so that's what I'll miss the most. I know that.
Yeah, man. I that's beautiful, and it's understandable at the same time. It is why I think, other than the bass that we all are obsessed with catching, and the tournament fraternity, like you're talking about, I think is what made me stick around for as long as I have. I mean, I would fishing. I would go fishing for the rest of my life, regardless if I'd ever fished a tournament. I love to fish, but the people. That's for sure. Is that a gator call?
No, that's it.
Do they put a light in the sky like Batman? What is that? It's a mustache.
That's a buddy of mine sending me a text. But we're thankful that I haven't got any of those. But it is funny because all of a sudden you'll get a ding, and he said, "Man, we got and the gators are the fun ones, the emergency gators. That's like a police officer sitting on top of it." Okay. He keeps coming in. But anyway, it's just a text message. Actually, it's from the Bass Open at Waddington. And he's sending me pictures. So I guess they must be weighing in or something up there.
Yeah, I think it's I know it's a shocker. I saw it right before we hit record because a good buddy of mine ended up finishing second, Zach Gutrumont there. But another Johnson brother, there was another Johnson brother victory. Corey Johnson took the win.
Really?
The biggest bag of the week, and he did what they typically do, which is beat up on people.
They are amazing up there, and they're nice guys. That they are so good up there. It's just it's really cool. Really cool. But anyway,
it's something to see. That is for sure. But well, Shaw, I know you will miss the people in the tournament world, but we will miss Shaw Grigsby being in the bass fishing tournament world. But I know you're not going far, and we can all keep up and see you when we want to on social media. But from this low lifer, as the listeners of the show like to refer to themselves and refer to me, I just want to say thank you for everything, man. It's just you are a Hall of Famer in more ways than one, for sure.
Well, thank you, Luke. And I'll definitely miss the competition, miss the guys, but I think I missed the guys more than anything. So.
No doubt about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Shaw Grigsby. Thank you, Shaw.
Thank you, Luke.
Well, all right, that's all she wrote with Shaw Grigsby. I cannot say enough thank yous to that man for coming on the show, spending some time with the low lifers right here on LBL. And I appreciate each and every one of you tuning in week and week out. I really appreciate it. It's cool to not only get to talk to my son on this show, very special, but to get to talk to one of my fishing heroes on the same episode. Really is the reason I started this many years ago. And we are in the 8th year. August marks 8 years of Low Budget Live. So greatly appreciate all of you for making this thing possible. Going to take you out with some Biloxi Blues, and I'll see y'all next time.
I never could make it last. Spanish moss and Civil War ghosts, well, I'm gonna leave them in the past. Any direction, Lord, I'll be fine. It don't matter east or west. North, south, wherever the wind blows, I'm leaving those burdens at rest. This highway, it does not know